Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Autobiology, the podcast with me, your host, Jennifer Littlefleck. If this is the first time you're joining me on my podcast, hey, welcome. I am a full-time freelance medical writer, and what I love to do is share with all of you the people that, are just like me, just, trying to get through this world, sharing all of the things that I learn every single day in my job. And how it can apply to you. Basically, all the things that we probably should have learned in high school health class, but we didn't. All right. Today's topic is going to be what my experience was going through COVID, specifically Delta. Right now, there are a lot of you who are going through, COVID, whether it's Omicron or Delta, but from my experience, Delta is still the prevalent strain that's out there, at least in my area. And you get really sick with Delta versus Omicron. So, what I'd like to do, because in my experience having COVID, I really found it fascinating that almost no one shared their experience. Very few people gave exact details on what they went through and what it was like. And 2 years into this, I thought, well, how is it that nobody is talking or sharing about their experience having COVID? Because I'll tell you, when you go through it, you're kind of like, man, I wish somebody had told me that this is what other people were experiencing. And the reason that you kind of want to hear that is because there are a couple of points in time where you're like, damn, am I dying? Am I really gonna die? Because you feel horrible, absolutely horrible. So being the person that shares a lot of medical information with you all on my channel and on my TikTok channel, and I want to give a shout out to my TikTok folks right here. I just really I felt that I needed to share this with you so that you can learn from it. So feel free to leave comments. I'm not going to go over anything that I took except for one thing, because that's not the point of this podcast. I just want you to understand what the symptoms were like and what you can expect going through it. And again, for those of us or those of you who are joining me on my TikTok channel, I am doing a live recording of a podcast right now that you'll be able to find on my channel in full length. So if I don't respond to your questions, that's why, but I will follow up with you at some point at a later point in time. So thanks to my TikTok nation, and keep it coming. All right. So we are using slides. So if you're just listening to this podcast and you want to see what I'm showing, please head over to my YouTube channel on Autobiology to view the slides. All right. Let's see if I can advance here. All right. And I already skipped a bunch. So whoops, this is actually day one. I don't know why it says days 2 and 3. All right, so what happened? Right. Well, for me, when I first came down with COVID, I had it all of December. So this is like the worst Christmas on record for me. And I have 2 little kids, so that was fun. And my daughter actually brought it home from school, and I came down with it on December 7th of 2021. And in the evenings, a couple of days a week, I help out at a farm and I take care of horses and various barn chores because that's fun for me. And I don't have a farm and I want to be a farmer. So they let me do stuff. And that evening, I was feeling a little less energetic than usual. And I asked my husband to come with me that night to muck out stalls or, clean up all the horse poop, basically. And it started right after I did that. We were literally in the truck on the way home and I didn't feel right. I started feeling like every joint in my body hurt. And when I moved, it was like moving my arms. It was like I was carrying 50-pound weights in each one. So that was the first inkling that I had that like something was kind of up. But basically, yeah, I felt like I was 100 years old, like all of a sudden, right? So the next morning, of course, I woke up and I had a massive migraine. I could barely get out of bed or move. Now, since my daughter had already come down with it, they were home. My kids were home quarantining. And so at least I didn't have to get them ready for school, but it sucked pretty bad. I looked at I have an Aura ring that I use to capture like all of my body data, my sleep data, my temperature, all that kind of good stuff, my HRV. And my Aura ring showed a temperature increase from baseline of over 2 degrees. So I was like, oof, that there's something up there, because I like never have a temperature. And as the day went on, I just got sicker and sicker. The migraine got worse. And I'm not one prone to migraines. So if this is normal for migraines, God help all of you who have migraines on a regular basis. But here's what it felt like. From my ears all the way up into the midline of my brain, I felt like there was literally electrical like jerks, almost like lightning bolts that hit my head and then would right in my ears, travel up through my temples and into my brain. And it was literally the most painful thing I'd ever experienced. My face and my head were so hot that I felt, and I had my eyes closed all the time because the pain of just even a little bit of light was overwhelming. So, so my eyes were closed a lot, and I felt like if I opened my eyes, my eyeballs were so hot, I felt like they were just going to melt out of my face. Like I'm not kidding you. Like, I kept just saying over and over to my husband that my eyes are so hot. I feel like they're going to fall out. It was pretty awful. All right. And here was the big thing. It was impossible to sleep because of the pain, because I really literally felt like there was lightning bolts in my brain. And this went on for 2 days. And I did feel like I was going to die. And I thought to myself, oh my God, I'm a pretty healthy person. Like, if you're not healthy, if you have problems, metabolic problems, autoimmune disease, I can't imagine how horrendous this was. All right. Now here's the thing. I used the Abbott Laboratories at-home COVID test at this point. I was in full sickness, and I did not test positive day 2, day 3. Meanwhile, my daughter, the first time we noticed that something was up with her, she immediately tested positive. All right, so COVID, Delta, days 4 through 8. All right, so let's start with days 4 through 7. So I'd been going through this horrendousness, awfulness, could not get myself out of bed, dragged myself to the bathroom to pee every so often, but I was barely drinking and definitely not eating anything. So days 4 through 7, I could finally get out of bed for about 20 minutes out of the whole day. And my Aura ring was still showing a temperature increase of over 3 degrees. So that's really high. Again, for me, and I always say for me, because you got to know your own body, right? If you're somebody who immediately has a temperature every single time you get sick, well, then probably for you that having a little bit of a temperature is not a huge deal. But for me, it was a huge deal. I never had a temperature. So this is really odd. The headache, while not as horrible as it was on days 2 to 3, it was still persistent. I remember waking up thinking to myself, oh my God, am I ever going to wake up without a headache ever again? It sucked so bad. If you would have asked me days 4 through 8, if I had one wish in the world, it would have been that I didn't have a headache. All right. So at this point, if I took a decongestant, and you don't know a lot about me, but I will tell you that I really try not to ever take medication for anything due to how my genetics are. I cannot detox medications at all. So if I take something, it stays in my system way, way longer than most people. And so I really avoid that. But I was desperate to be able to think, because I still had to work. I'm a freelancer. So it's not like I could call my boss and say, hey, I'm taking some paid time off. Like, I don't get that. Like, I work for agencies who pay me a load of money to work for them when I'm sick. And although I have to say, my agency partners who are watching this right now, you guys were awesome. And I just really appreciated the fact that you didn't, that you only called me for the must-have meetings and you allowed me to not be on camera. So thank you very much. Yeah, so I would take a decongestant and it would allow me to think clearly for 1 to 2 hours, right? But I was always back like in bed for the day, for the night by 3 o'clock. Yeah, I went to bed at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So day 8 rolls around and I woke up to my husband telling me he also has COVID. All right. So this really sucked, right? Because my kids are home. I'm like in bed and now he's come down with it. And I needed him to not be as sick as me, and he needed him to not be as sick as me. And so he researched where we could get monoclonal antibodies. I live in Pennsylvania, so it's not like Florida where you could just like go wherever at this point. And he was able to get them. And so he went and got them on day 8, which was day 2 for him. And so then I went and got them too. Because I thought, Jesus, if somebody is listening to me out there, please, let Jesus hear me because I need to feel better. Anyway, so he got them and I got them, but we got them like literally a week apart. The man was only down in bed like me for 1 day. Yeah, so the monoclonal antibodies for COVID, I had Delta, are fucking amazing. Okay. And it is a huge crime, in my opinion, to hold these back from anybody that has COVID, anybody. And there should be enough for everyone right now. Jesus Christ, people, we're 2 years into this and you're not providing treatments. You're worried about vaccinating people when like everybody's getting it anyway. Work on treatments, folks. Anyway, so the monoclonal antibodies like were a game changer for us. So I highly, highly recommend them if you can get them. And that's a big if. Almost nobody can get them now. A lot of shit's changed in the last 30 days. So, all right. We got the monoclonal antibody infusion. And I have to say, I think one of the reasons that I felt instantaneously better was because when you get an IV drip of something, they put it, in a fluid solution. And the fluids alone, I think, just made me feel amazing because, I was so dehydrated. I'm sure I was so dehydrated. So that made me feel great. So if you can even just get fluids into you through an IV, highly recommend. Now, at this point in time, my temperature was fluctuating, still higher than normal, but it wasn't like as bad as it used to be. But I still felt like we're on day 8. Okay. But I still felt like I was never going to be well, like ever again. Like I was still questioning, like, is this the end of me feeling like a normal human being that can like, do stuff? All right. So days 9 through 11, I was still in bed all day. And it was just incremental though. Like I couldn't really do too much, but I was feeling better in bed, but I still had a massive headache. That headache just lingered. But I started to have an appetite. So I started to try and eat and discovered I had no taste or smell. Now, I remember hearing about this. Like, this is like the only thing that anybody ever talked about, right? And I was like, people, why did you not talk about that? Why is this not more of a thing? And I'm going to digress and tell you a little bit about what I mean. When you have a cold and you feel like you can't taste or smell anything, that is nothing like what I'm talking about. When you get the COVID, when you lose your taste and smell with COVID, literally all food, you put food in your mouth, you might as well put a piece of wood in your mouth. That's what it's like. And I was just like, I don't understand why nobody talked about this. Food that I loved, like I would put in my mouth and it felt like I was chewing a piece of wood. I had to spit it out. Like, like beef jerky. was like, oh my God, this feels like leather in my mouth. And I guess technically it is, but the only thing that I could eat that didn't make me want to just spit it out because of the texture was like pudding and stuff like that. But the only thing that I could actually taste was either things that were super salty or super sweet, super salty. Not even super salty, just any salt I could taste. Um, and I still have that right now. It's a blessing and a curse, people. Blessing and a curse. Because on one hand, I am not gaining any weight back because there's zero joy in eating. Zero joy in eating. Like it completely changes how you view food. Food is literally just to keep you going. Now, there's no pleasure in eating, and that totally sucks. I mean, I can eat pretty much anything, and what I'm looking for is, does it make me feel like I'm getting a little energy and that I'm not going to pass out from hypoglycemia? Okay. That's it. I'm looking to not pass out from hypoglycemia when I eat now because nothing tastes good to me. And then I was thinking to myself, wow, what a great weight loss tool for people who are binge eaters. Develop something that helps you lose your taste or smell for 30 days. And I guarantee you that will start your weight loss program if you are that person who like eats for comfort or binge eats, which I used to. In my two go-to foods, Doritos or barbecue potato chips and mint chocolate chip ice cream. Those are my two downfalls. Now, I can't taste the zestiness of the Doritos. I can taste salt. And the mint chocolate chip ice cream, can't taste the peppermint. I can only taste like the sweetness in the chocolate chips, which sucks. All right. Okay, now at this point, again, we're still on day 9 to 11, and I could have a work conversation pretty good from my bed and actually remember it. The brain fog, people, is real. If you can think, you don't remember what you were thinking about. And fortunately for me, like I was able to like massively record everything, or my agency partners were able to massively record everything for me because you could not remember if you didn't write it down. It like totally sucked. All right. My Aura ring, again, days 9 to 11, still showing temperature increase. Now I actually went up a little bit to 2 degrees, and then I was starting to taper back down a little bit. Still back in bed by 3 p.m. though. All right. Still felt like I was never going to be totally well ever again. But then we got to day 12. And day 12 for me was a turning point. Now I was still in bed most of the day, but I was able to work for like 4 to 5 hours at a time, which was huge. And I could walk around the house, right? To do little things, grab presents because it was December. But and then I went to bed at 6 or 7. So that was getting better. All right. So what else here? Aura ring still showing temperature increase of over 1 degree. Again, no taste or smell. And like I was saying, it was like the eating thing, and it still persists. It just sucks, right? Because you need to eat to get up your strength to feel better, but you don't want to eat because you can't taste anything. So it's a vicious cycle. All right, so then days 13 through 18. Let's start with 13 through 16. Incremental daily improvements. I was able to get out of bed in the mornings, but still laid in bed to work, went to bed at 6 or 7 at night. Now, mind you, my husband is like, at this point, he's 90%. He's doing great because he got those monoclonal antibodies on day 2. Such a shame what's going on with healthcare these days. Shame on you people for not providing these treatments for everyone. Just saying. All right. Now, here's when the cough set in. You know, I remember everybody talking about the COVID cough every time we tried to talk. This is when it set in for me around day 13. Coughed every time I tried to talk. Aura ring showing temperature of increase of, still over a degree. still no taste. However, my energy was returning because I was living on ice cream. Not a good strategy for somebody who's trying to be healthy, but it was I was putting walnuts in it so that I was getting like some protein, some fat, and some carbs, well, a lot of carbs, sugar carbs. But I was starting to get my energy back. Resumed my barn duties on day 16 because I felt good enough to move around and I really needed some physical exercise. But it was like, 20 minutes in, I was wiped out. Wiped out. All right, so then I get to days 17 through 18 and I really started feeling good enough to get up around 7 in the morning and then go to bed at 8 at night. And I was working back in my home office. I was not working from bed anymore. This is day 17 to 18. And I was able to walk around the house a lot, do things, wrap presents, like do that kind of stuff. And for I think day 18, yep, day 18 was Christmas Eve. And I felt pretty normal by Christmas Eve, just really low energy. And I wanted to eat so badly, but so I would eat just to eat, but I still couldn't taste anything. So that sucked. I basically missed all the great holiday food, and the biggest one for me, because I am a huge mint chocolate chip person, is the peppermint creamer from Coffee Mate for my coffee in the morning, like one of my indulgences in the holidays. Couldn't taste it. All right, but I am going to give you one upside here, people, because there's always an upside. The upside for me, and for those of you watching me on YouTube, I'm also talking to my TikTok folks over here. The biggest upside that is still an upside to this day, I'm 6 weeks from day 1 of COVID. I can't smell body odor. Yes. For anyone, no one. I can't smell me. I can't smell the kids. I can't smell my husband. I can't smell the cat box. I can't smell horse crap. I can't smell any of that. So we got to always try and look at the positives where we can. No mint chocolate chip, no peppermint creamer, but no BO. Okay. So day 19 through 25, I felt like I was getting way, way better. And then I got a cold. And I recently found out I had been around somebody who found out afterwards they had Omicron. So I'm thinking maybe I picked it up and that's what the end of my Delta was actually the Omicron version, because apparently I listen to all of the experts, especially the ones who feel like most of the doctors and the CDC and WHO led us astray. And all of this was total bullshit. But they are confirming that they think that you can get Omicron after you've had Delta, and that potentially it was designed that way so that everybody would just get it and then have immunity from every strain moving forward. And I'm feeling like that evidence is pretty good. So I think that that's what happened to me, because again, I was still sick, and it was like days 19 through 25 here. And so so my symptoms at this point were the cough just intensified, but I also had horrible sinus pressure and the headaches returned, much to my disappointment, because God, getting rid of that COVID headache was like, oh my God, it was so amazing. And basically I just could not talk without coughing. But then my temperature, which for the last 22 days had been highly abnormal, like high, finally normalized on day 22. Day 22, folks. All right, so days 26 through 30, incremental improvements daily in thinking clearly for longer periods of time, which was huge because I'm a writer. And I literally am paid to think and be brilliant and come up with all these like really awesome ideas all day long. And Yeah, that's really hard when you got COVID. All right. So incremental improvements daily, thinking clearly. Woohoo! Finally stopped coughing around day 28, right? Now the fatigue still there, but more manageable. So we're again making improvements. So that brings us to today, folks. Today, I am currently 6 weeks out from the start of COVID Delta. My voice has almost returned to normal. It's still a little pitchy, but I'm working on it. I still can't hit the low notes anymore, which I try really hard because I have a naturally high voice. So, um, so the voice thing, the fatigue thing, I'm still working on that. The brain fog, I feel like, is pretty much gone. Through like a week and a half ago, I was still doing like super dumb stuff, like putting the milk in the pantry. Yeah, putting the milk in the pantry, putting the peanut butter in the refrigerator. You know, that's where I'm at. Fatigue, huge, still a huge problem. Getting winded quickly, doing anything. Oh, I did lose a pretty significant amount of weight, and you can really see it like on my face. My face is saggy. Like it's just like skin through my neck, which I don't have great skin elasticity to begin with, so that really sucked. Still little interest in eating. I'm starting to get my taste and smell back, but it's like maybe 30-40% of what it used to be. So, anyway, that is what happened to me. That was my experience with COVID. I implore you, if you like hearing me talk about stuff like this, please subscribe to all of my channels and definitely connect with me through my newsletter. Um, for my TikTok folks, you can find the link in my profile on my TikTok profile. Sign up for my newsletter. I talk about like stuff like this all the time, just real world biology stuff that you know are helpful to people. I talk about a lot of mom stuff. I just finished writing a graphic novel for young girls on their body. It's a cute story about four friends who like start like discovering some of them are growing boobies and all kinds of stuff at the same time. So it's cute. It's I'm hoping that it will be out by you know I'm hoping June, because it takes a long time to work with writers. I mean, not writers, with cartoonists. So that takes a little bit of a time. But if you subscribe to my newsletter, you'll learn all about it and you'll know when it's out. But I really would appreciate it if you would do that, because that way I can connect with people a little on a deeper level and talk more about stuff like this that, you know, we're currently being censored from discussing, unfortunately, because our medical establishment can't stand up for themselves. All right. Well, if I thank you for listening, and if anybody was offended by anything I said, sorry, but you know, this is just me being real and telling you about my experiences and talking in my own language. So anyway, but I do hope that you found this helpful. If I would have found something like this when I was going through it, I would have thought it was really helpful because nobody was talking about their experiences. And it sucks so bad that you are literally like, oh my God, am I going to die? And if you do not have a ton of comorbidities like being obese, having diabetes, having autoimmune disorders, you know, things like that, serious cardiovascular complications, serious respiratory complications before you had COVID, you're probably not going to die. You're just, life is going to suck for a while. And I just want you to know what to expect potentially. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening today. Please, if you haven't watched my other video or listened to my other podcast, about my DNA analysis with the DNA company, also please do that too, because that has literally been life-changing for me. And if you want to do it too, there's a link to get a discount on that test in the show notes of the podcast, or you can go to the DNAcompany.com, the DNAcompany.com/Jennifer, and you'll get that discount. All right. All right. Thank you, everybody.